Yo, 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 what's up, y'all? It's your man Ace. Back at it again, day number three. Let's try this again. All right. So really excited about doing this pre-market live because it gives me an opportunity to, like I said, share some insight into my day trading journey, what I'm learning, so you can, come with me behind the veil of day trading and investing, period. All right. I noticed that again, a lot of traders that I see on social media, a lot of people just want to focus on the upside and not necessarily um, be completely transparent about the downside. There's pros and cons, and I want to share everything so that you can learn, and that will allow you to make a more informed decision. So that's what this is all about. So in the pre-market, what I do is I cover just a couple of things, like top three things. First is I look at the news, see what might be affecting Tesla. So we'll look at what Tesla. I focus primarily on Tesla. Um, and so if you find value in that, then yeah, feel free to like and subscribe so that you can stay abreast on what's going on with Tesla specifically and look to learn how to trade Tesla. Right, you don't have to have a lot of money to trade Tesla either, and you can still make money. And I can show you how to do so based on what I've learned from my mentors. And I'm completely new to this year, 2025. So I've been trading for Tesla like the last three 3 months. Like April, May, June. Yeah, 3 months consistently. Um, I've been watching Tesla for since the beginning of the year, probably going back as early as I want to say November before 2025, like November or December, but definitely since January. So that's, let's say, 6 to 8 months. I've been watching Tesla, just learning its behavior and trying to understand how to trade it. So yeah, we'll look at what Tesla has done the previous day. Um, we'll look at what it's doing today in the pre-market. We'll look to identify what direction it might be heading based on the indices that it is a part of, like SPY and QQQ. And we'll take a look at, like I said, the news that might impact, potentially, our trade. So whether we want to, wait till till the news break, or look to see how regular news, like some random news, might have impacted Tesla going into the session today. So, and then I'll talk about my game plan in the end in terms of what I expect, and go from there. So bear with me as I nail this format down packed, and then I can start to develop more of a template, and and standardize my process in terms of how I want to approach this. I just want to kind of like, you know freestyle it in the beginning. Otherwise I wouldn't have done it, because I don't feel completely prepared. And that's one of the things that I wrestle with, is procrastination through perfection. Because if it's not the way I want it right away, then I just kind of like keep working on it, working on it, working on it. And you can kind of get analysis paralysis and never launch the thing. And you're just constantly, working on something, or iterating on it behind the scenes. But what I've learned as a software engineer for the past 10 years is that you uh, go fast, launch fast, launch early, and iterate on it. And that's how you can basically just come up with what you believe is the core of your offering or value proposition, and go from there. Let the audience, let the users decide, if it's valuable or not, or what they would like to see you iterate on, uh, in terms of feature enhancements. So that's what I decided to do. Otherwise, I wouldn't have, gotten started this week. So bear with me as I, fumble through and make mistakes and hiccups and say a lot of ums and ums and ums. I hate that. So hopefully I'll refine this process and make it a bit more smooth for you guys. Currently, I don't have any viewers, so won't be too bad starting out, but this gives me an opportunity to, just kind of get more familiar with speaking about my day trading journey out loud live versus a recorded session at the end of the week recapping my trades for that week. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into it. 5 minutes in, that was a brief little intro just to give you guys a reminder. I'll do that for maybe the rest of this week. The market is closed tomorrow, Thursday, for the holiday, and we'll resume Friday and then again next week. So I might continue to do this intro for this week and possibly next week. I'll just decide later. But let's take a look at Tesla and see where we're at. All right, so let me pop over here. Okay, cool. So it looks like um wow, we're up 0.49%, almost a half percent. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty promising. We closed yesterday at 316. And you can see in the pre-market today, we're already at 318. So that's promising, right? I'm in Tesla swings. I got a couple of Tesla swings out there, positions at different price points because the stock was heading toward the downside, and I was trying to catch the bottom. And so these swing positions do expire Friday. Now, I learned recently that typically, yearly around this time, stocks, especially like the Mag 7, kind of triple what they do on Friday toward the end of the quarter. So we'll see. I know my positions expire Friday, so that would be super nice if today, it does something. I seriously doubt that it will because the robotaxi launch is the 22nd. So I'm not really expecting, huge um activity, much activity from Tesla today, or even Friday, but we'll see. Maybe some news will come out, and we'll go from there. But let's take a look at a few things, and then we'll get to red folder and orange folder news that is consistent. That's something we want to check every single day going into the trading session, because it definitely has impact on the direction of the market, right? So that may impact our strategy. So we definitely want to stay abreast on that. So we'll get to that. But a few things I wanted to point out. Yesterday, I did talk about the fact that the senior VP did share 12,000, I think, was it 12,000 or 15,000 shares? They for like roughly around a little over $4.3 million was the estimated value. The SVP does have 67,000. I think they said 67 or 69. So not a big deal if you sell 15,000. Maybe they wanted to cash out. Like I said, it's ending. We're wrapping up the quarter. So not to me, it's not a huge deal. But I'm new to this, so I'm learning. From a purely finance perspective, I don't think that's a huge deal, right? You're not selling the majority of your position. If we look at what, let me do some quick math here. let's let's take a look. Let's take a look. All right. So we got 69. Let's just say we got 69,000 multiplied by, let's say 15%. Okay, so it might be 20. Let's do 20 times 20%. Yeah. So that's roughly 20%. So it's not actually it's less than 20%. But yeah, so it's roughly around like that 17, 18% range. So it's not a huge deal to me. That's why I was saying it. I don't feel like it's a huge deal. But there is a few things we want to take a look at concerning the AI race, right? And Tesla is basically swinging in that direction. So that's one thing we do want to keep an eye out on. Um, there's a $15 billion AI. Let's see, this is Google Focus AI rocket you've never heard of, and it's eyeing an IPO soon. So Applied Intuition is making some big moves, right? The fundraise was led by heavyweight BlackRock, so it's managing the funds and Kleiner Perkins. If you haven't heard of BlackRock, like I'm completely new to this as well, but BlackRock is a huge player in this game. All right, so basically it was funded. This fund was Applied Tuition, that is, was funded in 2017. Has software building, supplying simulation and software tools to like automakers, including Volkswagen and Toyota. They're looking to jump into the defense and industrial applications as well. They secure millions from the U.S. Department of Defense. They support autonomous systems, drones, battlefield coordination, all of that good stuff. Now, what's Tesla's role in this? Apply could soon join the ranks of enterprise grade AI firms seeking investor capital, right alongside mobility driven giants like Tesla. So, where the future of transportation and autonomy is already in motion. So, it looks like they could become, um, a competitor. Like I said, it looks like they're supplying Volkswagen and Toyota, so it looks like they can come become a competitor. And then I did see this, right? So Elon Musk's X AI. So I don't, if you haven't heard, he has this AI business, and he's taking Tesla in the same direction to enter into that side of the business. I talked about this yesterday, right? This is how the company currently breaks down. 89% is automotive for Tesla, and 10% is energy. So we're going to see, I don't know how much the percentage will be for the AI portion of their business, but that's going to be added to their business as well. So that's why I'm keeping an eye out on this news to see what's going on in this race. Now, the startup is they're spending billions. All right, they're burning through roughly 1 billion a month. All right, working on this. They've uh let's see, let's get off the screen. The startup is pitching 5 billion debt packages, da da da, equity raise plus 300 million shares sale to fund its massive of data center with 100,000 Nvidia. So we'll keep an eye out on Nvidia too. Nvidia has been increasing as well. So XAI's levered cash flow in terms of sheet, even after last year's 6 billion funding round that valued it at 50 billion. So it's currently valued at 50 billion. This is key. That's what I said. Keep an eye out. That's why I know people want to get rid of Elon, but I mean, let's face it, man. The guy is making moves, and it's because of what he's doing. They, despite his political views and stuff like that, when it comes to this side of the business or this side of him, people have a lot of confidence, in terms of, and I feel like the investors do. That's why the stock hasn't like dropped off the face of the earth. Um, but we'll see. But we will keep an eye out on this, right? The NAACP and environmental group plan to sue over pollution concerns at the Memphis facility. Um, so that's key. We'll keep a lookout on this to see what happens. The robotaxi launches tentatively on the 22nd. That we want to keep an eye out on because there are several interest groups that's fighting him on that in Austin, Texas as well. claiming safety issues, and they did a demonstration on the 12th of. I didn't hear any news about responses to that, so I don't know. But we'll see. We'll keep an eye out on that as well. So let's go ahead and head over to Red Folder News. All right, let me refresh this. So today we did have news, Red Folder News at 1 a.m. The pre-market started at 3. So we do have some more Red Folder News coming in, expected today. We got a couple things. Wow. So today's going to be busy. So I don't expect Tesla to move too much today until after FMOC, which is between 1 and 1:30 p.m. So this we'll see what happens after 1:30. Okay, so around that 2 o'clock mark before the markets close. This is 1:30 p.m. I believe this is Eastern Standard Time. Let's see what time zone this is. Oh, well, they say it's Central, so let's see. Yeah, okay, so it's synchronized to Central for me. All right, so yeah, so that'll be around 1 to 1:30. So we'll keep an eye out. I'll keep an eye out on that to see what happens. So man, today is wow. Today is red folder news. So employment doesn't really affect. I haven't seen this affect Tesla too much, so I don't think um, this will have too much of an impact. But I will see how much of an impact this has on Tesla because the post market ends or begins at 3 my time, Central Standard Time, and ends at 7 p.m. my time. So I'll keep an eye out on this. Like I said, Thursday, the market is closed. Friday, we resume. So I'll see what impact this news has on in the post market on Tesla. And I'll note if anything significant, played out Friday in my pre-market review or recap or prep. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into it. So let's take a look at Tesla today. Like I said, y'all know what time it is. I've currently, well, shoot, let me go ahead and talk about this too. So far, I've made over $6,000 this month on Tesla. Monday, I lost 1,000, so I'm still up 5K this month. I've been watching. Like I said, because I'm new, I haven't sat through a, you know, how do I want to describe this? I haven't been, investing in Tesla during the lead up to a particular launch of some major, launch. Okay, and like I said, robotaxi is going to launch tentatively on the 22nd, which is Sunday. Okay, so we'll see, how that works. But what I did do is I did enter into a couple of paper trades yesterday, and even though, let me show you, even though, let me go to, yeah, this is looking good. So look at this. Even though the um, the stock was heading downward, right, the entire day, I didn't capitalize on any of these downtrends. I don't feel as comfortable just yet jumping into these downtrends with Tesla because Tesla is it's odd. I didn't expect the stock to continue its downward trend this day. I thought we would stay like, kind of consolidate for the entire day, but we did continue downward, you know, and I was like, man, I didn't expect Tesla to do that. So I did enter into a couple of trades for toward the upside, right? And I saw that. Here's what I saw. Here's what I learned. I'm trying to practice to see what how the stock behaves, during this pre-launch, right, phase. So this is the final week, right? This is the week of the launch, right, of the major launch for Tesla. Okay, so I'm like, let me just not trade it, not be so, like take up any huge positions, especially expecting this red folder news to come in today. So seems like the market is waiting for that news. That seems to be the sentiment from my mentors as well. So I was like, okay, let me see what Tesla does today. I'm not going to trade it, but let me just see what it does. And I'll enter a couple of paper trades based on what I'm seeing if I see a particular setup. So I did notice these setups after an aggressive pullback. And today wasn't the only day Tesla did this. That's why I wanted to point this out. Each of these trades this month is when I entered the trade after Tesla did these aggressive drops. Okay, so this is an aggressive drop. Notice that the rise is more gradual, but the drops is like rapid, like aggressive, right? It's like boom, and then the rise kind of takes time, but then it's like boom. Then we gradually go back up, then boom, and then we gradually go back up, and then boom. So when we have these aggressive pullbacks or drops in price, I noticed that you can capitalize on these um, pullbacks. So if this is the trend, if the trend is down, right? If we're looking at this trend and a downtrend for this particular stock, right? If we consider this a downtrend, which it is, but if this is a downtrend, these here, let me draw this out. These are the pullbacks, okay? These are the pullbacks because the trend is down, right? We're going down, right? So what we want to do, what I wanted to do is see, well, you know, how much money can I make on these? Is this going to repeat the same behavior as it did, earlier this month? And it did. So notice if you jump in, right, first of all, I want to wait for confirmation that we are going to break this trend, like not break the structure, but pull back to a certain part, right? Breaking, let's talk about the market structure. So right now we're maintaining market structure. That's why you can see we start downward and then we do a little pullback and continue downward, pull back, continue downward, pull back, continue downward. So that's the market structure. The market structure breaks when this happens. So let's say we come down, pull back a little, come down, pull back a little, and come down, then pull back. If the market structure, this pullback breaks this level and then this level, that's when we've broken market structure because this is where the pivot occurred, right? So we're looking at these pivots, pivot, 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 pivot. So these are the pivot points, right? So once it breaks those pivots, then that confirms that we're basically headed back to the upside. Until then, we could continue. You have to be careful because that means we can continue on the downside, right? We can continue the trend downward. Um, so that's what I was looking at. Okay, so I'm like, all right, well, I could still make money, not necessarily focusing on the downward trend and capitalizing on that side of it, but let me look at the pullbacks and see how much money I can make on it. So I entered a few paper trades at 40 to 50K positions because that's the trade that I would typically take. And what I was looking for was confirmation that we were going to have a pullback. And I'll show you what that confirmation looks like real quick. Notice the wick on this candle. So you have this down candle, down close candle here, which is the purple. And then you can see um, we came as low as this point, right? But then the buyers pushed back and we ended up closing at this level. We opened the next candle here, we end up going as low as this point, but buyers stepped in aggressively and pushed the stock up, and we eventually closed here. So within these three candles here, you can see, well, let's count these three first. Let's count these three. So within these three candles, this is the confirmation that I'm looking for. This is an aggressive um, step in by the buyers, that long wick. That's what that indicates, right? So you can get in at the close of this candle, and because this is a low risk entry, because if the next candle begins to, as it forms, begins to drop below this candle, you can, if it starts to make its way, and it looks like on the 1 minute chart, because these are 1 minute candles, on the 1 minute, if we're getting close to that candle closing and we're going to make a new low from this candle, let's say it's gradually pushing, and it's like 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we make a new low, that's sign that we might continue downward, right? But notice what happens in the next candle. We start here at the body, right? Open. This is where we open. The sellers pushed it down to this point, but the buyers stepped in, pushed it up to this point. Sellers stepped in, and then we ended up closing here. Same thing on the next candle. We opened here, sellers stepped in, pushed it down. Buyers stepped in and pushed it up. That's what these wicks mean. But then they ended up closing at this point. Same thing, next candle. We open here at this level. Sellers pushed it downward, trying to break, continue the trend downward, but it didn't work, right? Sellers are looking to make a new low after this candle closed. And so the sellers pushed it down to this level. However, buyers stepped in, pushed it all the way up to this level. Sellers stepped in a little bit there, and we ended up closing at this level. So you can see, if you enter the trade here, you're set, right? You're set. This is considered an aggressive entry, and you can bar by bar, which is to candle by candle, take a look and see how the stock is behaving to prepare to exit the trade quickly. If you notice that the following candle is going to make a new low from the previous low, right? This is a high. This is a pullback. So you don't count this candle. You look at this candle and then whatever this candle does. If it closes above this one, or anywhere within this body, you're fine. And this trend is likely going to continue to go, you know, to a certain point. You don't know how far, but what I wanted to show you guys is this. If we enter the candle at 321.83, I'm looking to the right. If we enter the candle at 321.83, okay, enter the position at 321. From 321, from that point to this point, is a $2 run. Now, you might be thinking, okay, so what? Well, let me show you how significant that is. A $2 run is with a 50K, 40 to 50K position is $2,400 to $3,400. Again, that's how I made these these trades, okay? And it depends on your position. So that's how I ended up making those a couple of $1,000s. So I entered the paper trades, and I did this yesterday as I noticed the aggressive entries of the buyers, right? Once I seen buyers aggressively step in, here's confirmation. This is a nice move from 322 to 322.83. You could have caught like 800 bucks. And then when you start to see the pullback, like this wick here on this down close candle, this purple one from here to here, that's an indication that we might go the opposite direction. You can stay in and wait for the next candle to close. And that close right here of this small green candle here, you're like, all right, it's time to get out. You notice that before the candle closed, like, so it's like 5, 4, 3. Oh, we didn't even make a new high. So let me just go ahead and exit the trade. Because if you had stayed in, you started to lose more money. Now let me show you. Oops, let me get rid of that. So let me show you this point. Let me move this up a little bit. Same thing here. We notice that we continue the trend downward, but then we have some buyers step in. This aggressive candle, this bullish candle here is a good indication. To me, I don't like to enter on these types of candles just yet in this particular trend. What I like to see is a more of an aggressive wick. So we get the wick here on this down close candle, and then we have like this aggressive bullish candle here, pulling the price back up. Sellers step in, pull the price back down. We have a small wick on this candle, but we don't make a new low. So that's what you want to look out for. We don't make a new low. The very next candle, sellers tried to push or make a new low, but buyers stepped in again. This is the candle, that type of candle that we're looking for, where sellers are trying to push the stock lower to make a new low to continue the trend, but buyers step in. This is an aggressive entry again because we don't get full confirmation. So you step in or you enter your position here. Notice the stock buyers are stepping in, trying to take the price upward. Sellers step in, pull the price back down. But notice we don't close below the candle you entered on, right? We don't close below it. We actually close right above it. Sellers tried to push it below within the body of that candle we entered in on, but buyers stepped in. That's what that wick represents. Buyers stepped in and we closed here at this point. And then buyers aggressively stepped in and took the stock upward. So look, from here, 318 and change, 318.24 to here, 321.45. That's a $3 move. Again, but depending on your position, that's 2 to 3K. Same thing here. We see the wick, same pattern, same pattern. We wait for the wick to see buyer stepping in on the down close candle. We see an aggressive entry. I'm buyer stepping in aggressively. I'm not going to enter this candle. These, because you could still have continuation, as you see here. We almost had continuation. If you stepped in, you're losing quite a bit from 318.54 to 317, almost $1. So that's significant with your position. I don't want to lose too much. I only want to lose like, like $300 to $500 on that position. I don't want to give it too much room, like $1 move. I want to give it like 20 cents, 20, 30 cents, not $1. That's too much because that means you lost 1,000 or more, like 1,000, 1,500, and that's too much money. So that's why I don't jump in on these. I wait for, you get the up close, you get the down close, and then you get the trend upward, and then you get this here. Boom. So you see the wick. I want to see the wick. I want to confirm that buyers are definitely stepping in on these candles. So I see that buyers are stepping in. So I enter here. We enter the trade. Okay. Sellers try to bring the stock back down. Notice we close within the body of the candle we entered in on, but we don't go too far. So this is like a 10 cent, 15 cent loss so far. So we're still like maybe we lose like three to $400 so far. Candle close, sellers try to bring it in. So we're close to that 50, like 30, 40 cent range. But look, buyers stepped in, boom. Buyers step in again. Sellers try to step in. So they're fighting, and then we take off. Because when this candle begins to close and make a new low, that's what we're looking for. We just don't want to make a new low. So that didn't happen, and we ended up taking off. Now, me personally, I wouldn't have gotten in on this particular candle, or I wouldn't have stayed in. Once I saw this candle start to drop, I would have gotten out. Okay. Um, I would have gotten out. So I probably would have missed this run, this little small run. But here's what I'm looking for. We drop, pull back, and then we drop here. Now, buyers step in aggressively. You can see from these upper wicks, sellers are trying to push this stock down. Okay, they're trying. But these lower wicks are showing that buyers are stepping in. So I wouldn't have gotten in here. I would have waited, confirm that on the next pullback from this upward momentum, the next pullback, how far do we come, right? So since we came here, there's a little wick. We came here, there's a little wick. I'm like, okay, so we might start to move up. You could enter aggressively on this candle, see what the stock does. We're waiting for a retest of that same key level where we entered in on 315.59. We don't want it to really drop too far below this level. Notice we didn't. These candles wicked to that level, but we never closed below this level. And that's a good sign that we're going to continue upward. The market closes at 3. So from this point, from 315.50, let's just say 315.50 to 318, almost 318. That's a $3 move. Again, 2 to 3K on your position. I entered those trades in the paper trade and I made to an average of 2,500 each trade. So that's what's critical. Now, the other thing that we want to look at, let me erase these. I just wanted to show you guys that how you can actually make um, learn the behavior of the stock during certain periods, whether it's news or some sort of launch, some sort of significant news like a launch or a feature or whatever the stock is doing, the company is doing that could impact it positively or negatively. You want to see how it behaves and identify patterns. And so I'm showing you, I'm demonstrating the pattern at which, even on the downside, even when the price is dropping, you can make money. You can make money from this downward momentum and you can make money from the pullbacks as well. Because the stock repeats, if it repeats a behavior, that's what you're looking for. Does it repeat this behavior? And I noticed that in May, and I was like, you know what? Let me check to see if it does it again in June. It did it the entire month. I didn't trade it each time because I would watch. I'm like, wait, is this going to keep happening? So I traded it this day, didn't trade it this day. Just kind of took some small trades to see. Um, but I was like, dang, it did it again. So that could have been another 2 to 3,000. I entered the trade here, didn't give it too much room, and so I made $1,000. The other 200 was from smaller positions I was testing out. Took a loss here, but then same thing. I just didn't enter the trades at those points. I was watching it though, and it did it the whole week, including this week. And I was like, let me jump in. So I made close to 4K this day. Didn't trade it Wednesday. He did it again Thursday and Friday, but I didn't trade. I'm just watching. So I traded a different stock Monday, and I watched yesterday, and same thing, same behavior. So I'm like, So even during the week of a major launch, we still get the same behavior after these aggressive drops in price. Now these are the ingredients: an aggressive, the requirements or conditions, an aggressive drop. Okay, an aggressive drop. We get these the same pattern repeats, and we'll get some sort of confirmation from that buyers are stepping in. So you can ride that for $1, $2, or $3. You only need a dollar move to make some money. So you don't even have to stay in and try to, you know, grab every single penny. You don't have to do that. You could wait $1.50. $1.50 will make you, $1,200 to $1,500 with a position of 40 to 50K. So I'm just like, I don't need to stay in the whole trend. So that's critical. So I wanted to show that. I wanted to demonstrate that, but I need to jump into my game plan. 7:30 happens, so the major news launch. So let me refresh. We was looking at unemployment claims. Let's see how that came in. Unemployment. Oh, so not too far off. So it was forecast at 246, and we came in at 245. Let's see if how that impacted the market. All right, markets are staying steady. I'm looking at Qs and SPY because this is what Tesla. These indices are um, include Tesla. So along with other stocks, but this is a great way to gauge what direction the market is headed. So no real movement here at 7:30. So nothing much at all. So it looks like And same with Tesla. So cool. We didn't drop. As long as we continue to move upward, that's what I'm looking forward to. All right. So anyway, let's go ahead and jump into the last or final segment of this pre-market prep, and that's the game plan. So what am I expecting coming into today? So let me jump into the chart here. All right, so I cleaned up the chart a bit, and I wanted to discuss this. All right, so I cleaned up the chart, and because it looked kind of confusing, and I didn't want to distract new people from learning, right? So I want to make this easy. What we're looking for, and I'll recap this for a couple of sessions, right? What we're looking for is to look left and see what the stock is doing. So you can zoom in all the way down to the 1 minute chart, and you can zoom out all the way out to the monthly chart. So we have the monthly, weekly, daily, hourly, 4 hours, hourly, 1 hour, 15 minute, 5 minute, and 1 minute. So you zoom in or zoom out. When you zoom out, right, we're on the 15-minute chart, you can see the how the stock is behaving. We had this aggressive sell-off. This was during that spat between Trump and Elon. But after Elon made up, and started to apologize and pull back on that fight, we started to make our way up again. We're still heading up, okay? We're still making higher highs. That's the green. So we start here, we make a higher high and a higher high, right? These are the lows of where the stock was, but we can see here, like, this is the trend, right? This is the momentum. So even though we had this pullback, we still haven't broke the structure. That's why I wanted to go over that structure piece. If we begin to break below this level here, and we come back and retest and continue heavy towards the downside, then that means we've actually broken the structure. And because here's the pivot, and so what we look at here is we draw the box, we box this in, okay? We just box this in, we box this in, right? And you can see that we're staying within this range, and so we're just consolidating. So we went up and then came down, went up, came down. And we do this over a couple of days, right? So this week, Monday, we went up, right? Tuesday, we kept going up. Wednesday, we start to drop. Thursday, we continue to drop. Friday, we went up again. Monday, we continue to drop. Tuesday, we continue to drop. So we're still within this range. So nothing too concerning here. So I'm not too concerned. That's why I'm still in my swings. So if we start to make our way up again, hopefully, you know, Friday, we hopefully reach this point or break above. Even if we get to this point, I'm cool, because then I can at least break even on my on my swings. But we'll see what happens. Um, so yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, what I would like to look for is, since we're at this point right here at 317 and change, coming into the market open, I'd like to see us retest the previous day low at 314.74 and continue our way upward, right? So what that would look like is we consolidate, right? Bounce off this key level here and then continue our way forward, right? Off these key levels. That's what I'm looking for. So coming into today's session, I don't expect us to do too much. Because again, we're waiting for FMOC, which is going to happen much later today in the afternoon, around 1 to 1, between 1 and 1:30. So I expect like a lot of consolidation today around this range and this pre-market. This is the box, the pre-market high and the pre-market low. So I expect this to kind of range, maybe peak above and then peak below, and just kind of do this until the news breaks. Oops. Until the news breaks. All right, FMOC. So, but if we do, then that will be great. I'll definitely look to trade it if I do see that trend. If we do, let's say start strong in the open, come here and then aggressively drop. That's what I'll be looking for today, to look to see if buyers step in, and if they do, then I'll enter that trade and hopefully capitalize on a $1 to $3 move and walk away with a profit of anywhere between $1 to $3,000 today. So that'll be a nice way to end the week. So we'll see what happens. But let's talk about these key levels real quick. All right, before I wrap up. Um, these key levels, all they are marking out old highs and old lows. And a high is during the trading session, how high did the price go? Okay. During Friday, how high did the price go? And how low did the price go, right? What was the highest price? What was the lowest price point within that trading session? So old highs, old lows. That's what we're looking for. Old highs, old lows, old highs, old lows, old highs, old lows, old highs, old lows, old highs, old lows. That's it. That's it. It's simple. It's simple. This is the very key ingredient to understanding trends and patterns within the stock when you're trading it. You're not guessing. You're not guessing. This is not guesswork. You're looking for patterns. And once that pattern, AKA is set up, presents itself, that's when you get in. So you wait patiently. You wait to see what the reaction off of these key levels. What's the reaction off this pre market low? What's the reaction off this pre market high? What's the reaction off this previous day low? What's the reaction off this previous day high? These are your major um, opening opening range moves. So what's the reaction off of these key levels here, these four key levels here, right? I scripted this in so it marks it out for me automatically without me having to draw it, because these are the I like to look for opening range. Intraday, the other key levels that I had drawn out here, that's when these play a part, a more significant role. Okay. So old highs, old lows. You get that? Old highs, old lows. Now I'm going to show all the drawings, all the key levels that I marked out. Okay. So each of these key levels represent a certain price point where we pivoted from. Okay. Old highs, old lows. Remember that. Let's talk about the colors. Let's talk about the colors. Now, remember, we have these charts, higher time frames. You can zoom in, then zoom out. The 5 minute is this color. The 15 minute is this color. For gaps, it's going to be yellow. So I'm skipping this. The 1 hour is this color. Okay. The 4 hour is this color. The 4 hour is this color. The daily is this color. The weekly is this color. And the monthly is this color. Okay. And then white is just me drawing out on the 1 minute chart like a temporary key level. Okay. So now let's jump in. Let's look at this. Let's take a look at this. Okay, so we have these key levels here, right? And obviously, I'm on the 15-minute chart. We know we're in this consolidation range. So we're at the low of this range. We touched here twice or 3 times already. Here on Tuesday, again on Friday, and again yesterday. So we're starting to make our way up. We gapped up in the pre-market. So let's see what we are going to do, right? So in the open, once the market opens, I'd like to see us retest this key level, either the pre-market low or the previous day low, for a continuation upward. But it's possible the buyers might step in aggressively and might shoot the price all the way up. Like this could happen too. And then we'll be checking to see the reaction off of this key level, because then we could come back down, possibly retest again, retest, consolidate, 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 retest again, consolidate, pull back, break above, pull back, pull back, and it could drop again. Or it could continue the trend higher. So we just have to see what ends up happening at the open. So we'll wait the first 5 minutes, then the next 15 minutes, and we'll be looking out for the 10:15 a.m. red folder news. So 15 minutes after 10, we'll check to see what happens then. And then we don't have any more red folder news until later in the session. So we'll check the reaction after the news breaks, and I'll let you know in the pre-market Friday, because we'll be closed again on Thursday, right? So these key levels I drew out just represent old highs, old lows. That's it. Okay. So, and what I'm looking for to confirm a key level is multiple touches. So you can see we have multiple touches at this key level here, and then we have multiple touches at this level here, right? A touch here, touch here. Um, we get close, and this is a range. Don't look at this as the concrete level. Look at it as a range. The line um, for me represents a range in price. So $1 above and $1 below. Even though I didn't draw out a range, you can actually draw out the range if you want. Let me show you. Where is that? Oh, I'm tripping. So you could draw out a rectangle to represent this range. So from here to here, right? So we got 336.78 to where we have these multiple touches, 331.40. So 336, 331. So that's a $4 range. So you could draw out this range to say, okay, what's the reaction within this range? And you can do that for every key level if you want to. Instead of drawing out lines, you can draw out a box, so you can visually see the range. For me, I'm already looking at what's the reaction within that, that dollar to $1.50, um, to see what happens. So again, we got multiple touches here. This is a pivot point. We came back below and retested this key level. Now it serves as support. We continued the trend down, came back, retested this key level, continued down, came back, retested this level. Then we finally broke above it, came back, retested this level. We rejected off this level and continued forward, broke through, came back, broke through this level, came back, slight retest. We didn't come all the way back. Again, it's a range, so it doesn't have to be perfect. So we came back, pulled back to this range, and then continued our trend. This served as support. We continued upward, came back, tested this level, rejected off this level, continued slight pullback, and then we finally broke through support. Now support might become resistance. Let's check the reaction. Nope, we broke through it again, but then we rejected off this range here. So So I was looking at this. This is a pivot point. So we rejected off this pivot, right? This is one of the pivot points in this downtrend. So I drew it out, and I'm like, okay, let's see what happens off let's check the reaction. And we rejected off this level and broke below this key level and came back all the way to this key level here, broke below it, rejected this price, and continued back. And so that's the trend, right? That's what we're looking for. That's the pattern. And we're just checking what's the reaction off of these key levels. You can see off this pivot level, we got several reactions, right? Boom, rejection here, and rejection here. So now coming into this session, let's see what happens off of the reaction off these key levels. I don't expect much today, but I did hear the sentiment is we might have some major moves Friday. So we'll see. But if you have questions about these key levels, let me know and I can go into more detail or create a video that provides a, you know, more in-depth explanation. So since we're around this level here, let's just box this in. 322.79. I'd like to see the reaction off this key level, break, retest for a continuation up to this point, and we'll see. So we'll see what happens coming into the market today. Looking at before I close out of this pre-market prep, the market is still remaining steady so far, so that's a good sign. So we'll see what happens in the market open. All right, if you found value in today's pre-market prep, I appreciate a like and subscribe and continue to follow for more. You can catch the replay if you missed it. So just go ahead and refresh once I close out this stream, and then you can catch the beginning of this pre-market prep. All right, y'all. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Till next video, it's your man Ace. I'm out.